What's up, Internet? Kevin here with TLD, bringing you our somewhat delayed review of Deus Ex Human Revolution for the Xbox 360, PS3, and PC. Now, for those of you who haven't heard of the series before, this is actually a prequel to two other games that came out on the PC and also had console ports. The second one wasn't so popular, but the first one had a massive cult following. It was an excellent game. Basically, in those games, it was focused on a setting where humanity was making use of nanotechnology to modify human beings, giving them things like enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, intelligence, things like that. Human Revolution takes place before then, when instead humanity's making use of actual full-on metallic physical augmentations, like putting a blade in your arm or having circuitry inside your eyeball. It basically focuses on a time when we're first embracing this kind of technology, and there's lots of political struggles between, well, is it right, is it not? The game focuses a lot on the issue of what it would be like if we're actually faced with these kinds of concepts. Now, in the game, you take the role of Adam Jensen, a chief of security who basically gets blown up at the beginning and is rebuilt against his will. During the game, you're able to customize your version of Jensen as you wish, purchasing a number of different little augmentations. It's not so much as full-on skill trees as it's several different things you can choose to purchase, and some of them can lead to overall trees, like being a better hacker. You can purchase a number of different things, such as being able to soften your footsteps, being able to lift heavy objects. You can reveal special hidden pathways or stack boxes to jump on them. You can also do stuff like gain active camo temporarily. There's lots of cool little different bonuses, and what's really interesting about it is that the way that most levels are designed, they actually allow you to kind of make use of each one in its own way. There's quite a few moments where you really feel happy with your purchase because, hey, the skill actually came up during the mission. And there's other moments where you'll come to a part where you're like, damn it, I really wish I invested in this skill. Why didn't I do it earlier? It's actually surprisingly well balanced how they did that. Sure, some skills still feel a little less useful than others in general, but on the whole, it actually feels pretty balanced. Now, as far as gameplay goes, the game basically uses a combination of FPS, RPG, and stealth mechanics, allowing players to approach situations in combat the way they want to. Sure, you could just sneak up behind an enemy and take him out with a quick silent takeout, or you could also just start shooting everyone you see in sight with big automatic rifles and wait till everyone's dead and then move on to the next room. It's really fun. It does let you kind of play the game the way you want to. The only thing that's slightly unbalanced about it is the fact that there are boss fights, which are really out of place when you build a character focused on stealth and hacking and conversation options, because there's not much you can really say to a guy who just starts chucking grenades at you and always knows where you are. The game does kind of help balance this out by the fact that during these boss fights there's an abundance of weapons and ammunition around the area, so at least if you don't come in prepared for it, you can at least pick up weapons at the last second, but it still throws you off if you haven't been investing in upgrades that do things like reducing recoil on weapons or increasing your damage resistance. One of the things I also thought was actually well implemented was the use of a cover system, which wasn't really used in the earlier games. What I really liked about it wasn't so much that you could do the over-the-shoulder shooter, lean out from cover and shoot people type of thing, but it actually really helped out with stealth elements, giving you moments where you could actually make use of cover to kind of quietly walk by an enemy and know you have cover so they can't see you. Or if there's security systems with cameras, you know there's things you can hide behind. It's not just simply crouching in first-person mode and hoping that you're not in the right line of sight. It kind of gave you a much better feeling of how to make use of stealth, and I felt like it really fit the genre quite well. Now, the game isn't just about infiltration missions and shooting people up. Actually, the way the flow of the game works is you have different hub cities you travel to. During these hub cities, you do have major quests you can pursue, but you're also able to do things like a lot of side quests, helping other characters out to increase your XP, as well as changing little side bits in the storyline, as well as able to go to merchants in order to restock on weapons and ammo. Now, one of the things that's always been present in the Deus Ex series is that while there are merchants, they don't have infinite supply. You can't just restock on tons of bullets because you've been using them up. As a result, the game does force you to really make use of your supplies and not just wastefully fire things off. You really want to make every shot count because you really don't know when you're going to come across more ammunition for your tranq rifle or your assault rifle for that matter. Now, the game does give you one other way to deal with certain conflicts, and that's the conversation system. There are normal conversations you can have with some characters that allow you to open up certain side quests or get more reward for completing one, but then there's also some segments that are actually referred to as like boss fight talking segments. During these times, you actually go through a series of options and you try to convince someone, normally a pretty important character in the storyline, to bend to your will. These can be really hard without this one particular augmentation called the Cassie Mod. It actually gives you a whole bunch of information and psychological profiles on people you're talking to, and even gives you the ability to use pheromones to really push them into agreeing with you. It's actually a really fun, inventive kind of way. The cool thing about these compared to the other boss fights is that if you fail them, there are still other ways to approach things. So if you want to approach the game as just a pure run and gun, you don't have to worry about it. But for those of you that want to take the more stealthier and kind of talk your way through approach, they're actually a lot of fun, and I feel like they added a little something to the game overall. Overall, Deus Ex Human Revolution is an excellent game, balancing out FPS and RPG as well as stealth. It really gives you a great feel of being able to do things the way you want to, even if the boss fights themselves can be a bit of a hiccup. Overall though, it's a great, fantastic experience. I recommend it to anyone who's a fan of RPGs, and even FPS for that matter, as well as if they're looking for something with a really strong narrative. It does have some little issues, like the boss fights. Personally, one thing I didn't like about it is the fact that while the game does boast multiple endings, these are basically affected by things you do within the last, 5 minutes. The storyline itself does shape a little bit around your actions, but the final endings all come down to basically the last 5 minutes of the game. I watched all 4 endings after beating it because I could, and it wasn't very hard. But that aside, that's more of a personal preference on my part. I like feeling like all decisions have, impacts and have kind of endings with lots of little facets, but it was still a great experience. I loved the game itself. I really recommend it to anyone. That's our review of Deus Ex Human Revolution for the Xbox 360, PS3, and PC. I'm Kevin for TLD. Thanks for watching.